So we were explaining how Rav Nachman is bringing a chidush. You would think that when you're looking for a rabbi, you simply need someone who knows more than you. It's good enough. Rav Nachman says, hafech, flip it. What is it? The further you are from Kedusha, the further you are from Hashem, the further you are from Amunah, the greater the Rav you need. Why? Because your rabbi is really a doctor. And as opposed to a physical doctor, when you have a more serious virus, you need to go to a specialist. So too, spirituality, all the more so. And it's not a physical illness he's healing, it's a spiritual illness. It's a spiritual malady. So he's saying, what is it about the rabbi that's so special that you need him? So he said that he needs to give you very high level, high frequency, high intensity light. Or, however, because you are not a vessel for receiving that light, don't tell the kids that. They're gonna leave. This guy's protected though. He has thorns and flowers surrounding him. Okay. It's the style these days, you know? You got a teddy bear, he's got flowers. God, everyone's embarrassing students. This guy's hat is cool though, so let's get this guy. So people don't think I'm a complete loser, you know? Okay. So he has to take very high voltage intensity, and then he's got to contract it exactly where you're holding. So that it's not too little of light, that it's not going to change you, but it's not too much, that it's not going to damage you. Right? And it's very difficult to do that. So for this, you need a true tzaddik. He said, what is it that causes malchut, which is your emunah, to fall? It's when you don't have da'at. So as soon as your malchut, which is your emunah, doesn't have da'at, meaning it's not experiencing God in its life in a way that you can actually tangibly sense, automatically your malchut, your emunah, drops into exile, and then the klipot nourish off of it. They get their life force off of it. That's why Hashem set up the day, and we're going to say in a moment, that you sleep at nighttime, because there's no da'at at nighttime. That's why there's no light, because light and da'at is synonymous, just like it says that there's no Torah that's not light. There's no light that's not Torah, right? So what you be doing when it's dark? You should be sleeping. Why? Because sleeping is kicking into Amunah Pashuta. I'm not thinking at all, I'm sleeping, right? You go through a difficulty in your life, you go through a challenge in your life, as opposed to what you would think, well, I'm Jewish, I can find Hashem in everything, let me look for God right now. So Rav Nachman says in the very first Torah of Likutei Mohoran, don't do that. As soon as you have trouble, trial, difficulty that comes your way, you need to take your mind and you need to turn it off completely. And you need to kick into emunah, faith. Simple faith. Why? Because what's happening to you right now is greater than your mind. So you don't understand it. Amen. So what happens when you try to understand it, but it's greater than your mind? That's where pain comes from. That's where suffering comes from. Like chas v'shalom, somebody gets a disease, an illness, a terminal illness. There's no way for the human mind to grasp why that's good. Because it's above our understanding. It's not because there is no understanding, it's because it's above it. So what do we have to do? We have to turn off our mind and kick into Amunah. Why is that? Because Amunah is higher than the mind. Only Amunah is able to receive that trouble, and that not only do you remain unscathed by it, but you actually come out bigger and stronger, and you're able to experience God in an even deeper way afterwards. Like the Tanya says that your biggest difficulties in your life are actually coming from the first two letters of Hashem's name. And the times that feel good and hunky-dory, they're coming from the second two letters of Hashem's name. Meaning, the darkness, the difficulties, is a greater revelation of God. But because it's a greater revelation, you're not able to experience it with understanding. It's greater than your mind. So it feels painful. So we need to nullify our mind. That's called sleeping.
That's how we turn off our mind.
You turn off your mind with sleep, which spiritually is amuna. Because what's sleep? You don't have to think. With amuna, you don't have to think. Right. You just say, Hashem, I trust in you. Everything you do is for the best. I don't understand this at all. The way that my mind operates, this is not good for me. But I know it's a lie. Because it can't be you're doing something that's not good to me.
So what if it happens during the day? You just have a very stressful moment, and you want to turn.
Exactly. So that's what you need to do. Right. So this whole concept of physical sleep at nighttime is because spiritually, whenever it's difficult, you need to kick into sleep. That's what we're going to talk about in a second. So now he says like this. What is the number one time to rectify your faith? To rectify your emunah in the day? The number one time, that was very smooth. Especially followed by the kippah tip up you just did. Okay. Every single morning, your emunah is completely renewed. Why? Because when the dawn comes, the shachar arises. And Kabbalistically, shachar, or dawn, is keneged amuna. Meaning what's rising in the morning is amuna. It's rejuvenated from your sleep. Because you didn't think about the difficulty, because you didn't try to understand it, now morning time comes, meaning da'at is back into your life, understanding is back into your life. Now your amuna is actually strengthened. Everybody with me? This is the concept of malchut. Which is really a lower wisdom. There's two types of wisdom we learned. There's a higher wisdom and a lower wisdom. Amuna itself is the lower wisdom. Why is it called a lower wisdom versus a higher wisdom? Is Amuna really less of a wisdom than, let's say, understanding? No. It's called lower because within that wisdom is included the higher wisdom. But the higher wisdom you can't taste right now. You can't touch it right now. It's off limits to you. So what do you need to do? You kick into a lower wisdom. And with your lower wisdom, you actually have included in that what you know. What do I mean by that? I know it sounds very abstract. Let's say, for instance, I come across the table right now, and I knock my gendon out. Cold. One shot. So nobody can believe that, right? It doesn't make any sense. Whether it's because I lack the physical strength to do so, or because Mike would probably take his pinky and then twist me in a second, like a pretzel, right? Whatever it is, it's not a likely situation. But let's say I did it. If he tries to think about why I would do such a thing, what is he going to come out with?
All the negative things about it.
All the negative stuff. He doesn't like me. What kind of rabbi is this? He's going to feel angry. He's going to feel sad. He's going to feel confused. He's going to wonder why he's the treasurer of Zion. Maybe you should pick somebody else. He's going to think about, should I really wear teddy bear sweatshirts in public anymore? It's going to be a whole, he might not even sleep tonight because there's just so much intellectual stuff. He can't deal with it. So what does Rav Nachman say to do at that moment? Lay on the floor and say, everything is from Hashem. Everything is for the best. Everything is for me to come closer to Him. That's called lower wisdom. That's called amuna. Now what would happen, let's say, if he did know why I did it? If he really knew why I did it, you know what he would come out with? The same exact understanding. That it's from Hashem, it's for the very best, and it's for him to come close to Hashem. Everybody understand the mashal? Whether you're in the higher wisdom or the lower wisdom, whether you're in intellect or you're in amuna faith, you're still coming out to the same conclusion. Everything is from Hashem. Sometimes you can consciously experience that. You can look for that truth and you can find it. Sometimes you can't understand that and you just have to believe that. But either way, you're going to come to the same conclusion. Got it? Therefore, what do you need to do in order to strengthen your emunah? You need to rise early in the morning before the sun comes up in order to study Torah and serve Hashem. This is going to magnify, elevate, and awaken your emunah. Like David HaMelech said, Ura chevodi, Awaken my kavod, which we know kavod is always a code word for Emunah, Malchut, right? Awaken, Ayra Shachar, and arise the dawn. Awaken the Shachar. Kadesh Yizkei Livchinat Hasaga Elokut. Why are you doing this? Because when you get up early in the morning, right before Emunah is completely rectified, this is a sweet spot to increase your da'at of Hashem, to obtain a true perception of God. Why? Because the klipot that were out all night, meaning during your difficulty, during your challenges, they're now subdued. So now you have a sweet opportunity to find God in your life. But you have to take advantage of that time. And now is the time for you to look for Hashem. And not only that, that's the whole reason you were created. Why are you here? The Zohar says, every single person, every single Jew especially, was created only to come to this. The only reason you came down into this world, and all the worlds in existence were created only for this, that you should come to know and experience Hashem. And when is the time for you to do that? When's the sweetest time for you to do that? Early in the morning before the sun rises. So in addition to you not eating any food anymore, now you need to cut your sleep in half. He said he came to his first class yesterday. We learned about fasting and food. He's like, I was honestly thinking to myself, man, like, should I even eat today? No! You should be emaciated. And then get me fired. It's for this reason that we were created. Each person must attain this awareness. The only reason you came into the world, the supernal worlds were created for this. Why? And only in order that you should know Hashem. Everybody understand? So we're coming away with two things. At nighttime, why is it night physically? Because it's reflecting spiritual something. What's the spiritual something it's reflecting? Da'at, or consciousness of God, experience of God in your life, is called or. It's called light. What is the opposite of that? That's called darkness. It's called darkness. That's why I said Tzaddikim are alive even when they're dead. And Rashayim are dead even when they're alive. Why? Because they have no light in this world or the next. And Tzaddikim have light in this world and the next. Everything is about light. You have light, you're alive. What do you do when there's no light? Which is the majority of our life. What do you do when there's no light? You don't look for light when there's no light. That's crazy. Can you imagine being in a room? There's no light anywhere. You know it. There's no light bulbs, there's no nothing, and you're constantly looking for light. What's going to happen to you? You're going to move into despair and anger and frustration, right? You're going to lose your faith. What do you have to do? You need to stop moving. You need to say to yourself, Hashem, everything you do for me is for the very best. Everything is for me to come closer to you. Everything is for me to know you. And now you know what happens when you do that? It's like you created your own light in your mind, even though there's not one out there. You made the light through your emunah. Are you with me? Second part is, what's the best time to rectify your emunah and your da'at so that when the light does come up, you're ready to find Hashem in everything in your life? The answer is right before dawn. 4 a.m., 5 a.m., right before the sun comes up, get up, do tikkun chatzot, learn Torah, and you are going to rectify your emunah in a big way. Yes. It's great. No. Truth is, it takes 15 minutes. Okay? Okay, so it takes 15 minutes.
15 minutes for what?
All of Tikkun Chatzot. Two things. It's not as much as you think.
It's a prayer, reading?
Yeah, it's a prayer. It's in your siddur. No. In your siddur, in your prayer book, there's something called midnight Lamentations. Tikkun Chatzot.
You go back to sleep.
You can go back to sleep after. He's saying that the best thing you can do is to do Tikkun Chatzot and then learn until the sun comes.
No.
Start your day.
I go to sleep already. For like different times.
Listen. If you have an opportunity to, you'll try it. You'll see it works. Okay. Okay. So let's say for instance though, you're going to sleep at like let's say 12:30. Okay. You can do it now at like 12:16, I think. 12:10 even. All right. So you can do it before you go to sleep, and then you don't have to stay up. You get Tikkun Chatzot, and you get it. It's gonna be a little bit later. Okay. But if it goes to 1, that means we're gonna have a 1 hour later, also in the morning. You mean the Shema before you go to sleep on your bed? Yeah. You should do Tikkun Chatzot first. Yeah, of course. After you say the Shema on your bed? Wait. Wait, 1 second. You're saying the evening Shema or the bedtime Shema? You're saying the bedtime Shema, then you're learning, and then you're saying Tikkun Chatzot? Tikkun Chatzot, then you're learning. Like you just pick a random one, or it's part of the thing? Yeah. And then you say Shema on your bed. You say Shema.
I heard you're supposed to do Kriyat Shema not in your bed. You could just do it like in your living room.
Oh, you're saying you could do that?
Yeah.
Okay. It should be the last.
It's a long thing. I read it all. I read it in my living room, then I go to bed.
Okay, so the Kriyat Shema on your Kriyat Shema at night before you go to sleep should be right before you go to sleep. You shouldn't do anything after that. Nothing. Like, so don't say it yet. Wait till you go to sleep. So do it before you say it. You found it? Okay. Whatever.
We read most of these passages throughout the day. No.
Yeah. Literally, and I don't even speak Hebrew. If I spoke Hebrew, I could do it in 5 minutes. If I read Hebrew, you could do 5 minutes. It doesn't take long. It seems like a lot. It's like Kippur to. It's like one of those things. Like, wow.
You understand it doesn't matter. Just read it as a prayer.
You should read it as a prayer. Read it like you're saying Tehillim.
You have to sit on the floor. You know that?
Yes, it's better to sleep on the floor. I think you're Yotze if you don't sleep on the floor. It's better to sleep. It's also good to put ashes on your head.
What? That's how it's doing.
Put ashes on your head. Got some ashes over there? No? Okay. Alright, so let's see. What's happening in this Torah in Likutei Mohoran? So this is a very interesting Torah, and we have learned thus far a fascinating concept. Where do souls come from? They come from a place called Kavod, honor. That's the name of the womb, spiritual womb that exists that all Jewish souls come from. It's called Kavod, honor, that all people come from. What happens is your soul then comes down from that place and enters into the physical world. When your life ends, your soul then goes back up to that place called Kavod, and it waits there until Techiyat Meitim, when Bezrat Hashem, your soul will come back into your body and you will live. Okay? Sounds good? Now, Rav Nachman says, what's the real reason people are chasing after Kavod in this world? Why does everybody want honor in this world? Why is it the one thing that nobody is able to nullify from themselves completely? You can nullify your taiva for food, you can nullify your taiva for sex, you can nullify this and that, but no, I still want people to appreciate me, to like me, to compliment me, to make. Why is honor such a big deal? Because it is the root of your soul. The root of every soul is called honor. And everybody, says the Baal Shem Tov, wants to go back to the root of their soul. So what people really want is, I want to go home. But instead, what are people doing? They're chasing after the physical reflection of that home that's called honor. Everybody with me so far? So Rav Nachman says, now what happens when somebody comes over to you and is like, hey, sweet teddy bear in your sweatshirt? That's called them honoring you. If I meant it. So now Rav Nachman said there's two possibilities when I honor you, what's happening. First possibility, which is a very small possibility, but one you definitely have to be concerned about, is that Hashem wants you to go back to the root of your soul. Meaning, it's time for you to call it a quit. Head back home. So how does Hashem let you know? He has somebody honor you. And really, it is a slight hint, you're going back to the place that's called honor. Everybody understand? Do you or yes or no? What? Yes, death. Okay, I guess I need to be more explicit. Okay. I realize now nobody understood anything you just said. Yeah, okay, go ahead. You know how when you're born in this world, you come from a physical womb of a woman? Okay. The reason that happens is because before that happens, you come down from above from a spiritual womb. What's the spiritual womb called? The place is called honor. Kavod. Yes. But I don't want to confuse them. Yes.
I feel like that makes it clear.
It makes it clearer?
Because it's weird to just call it honor.
Okay. Because that is the place of Hashem's Kavod, honor. Our souls come from that place. Now, when our soul comes down to this world, the whole time that we're here, we want to go back up to our source. Why honor? You mean, why is that the root of our soul? Because we're here to rectify it. Meaning, we're here to give it all back to Hashem. As opposed to our nature, which says, I want honor for myself, we're here to actually fix it and to bring it back to its source. When everybody does that, redemption, Mashiach, we're good. As I say, kol kavod. Okay? Got it? So when somebody comes and they honor you, Rav Nachman says that could be actually a reflection that above in this place called honor, they want you back, meaning it's time for you to die. Okay. Everybody with me now? So therefore, if someone comes over and compliments you, it could be a hint to that. Now, it's a very small possibility, but I'm not going to say it's a real possibility. Second possibility. Actually, let me make a contingent possibility. We learned by the end of this section, it could be that even if it's not your turn to go, that when somebody honors somebody else, it's their time to go. But it's somebody's time to go. That was the first possibility. Yeah, some random guy. Some guy who's having his pina colada in Mexico and just jokes back because this guy got the compliment. Okay, second possibility, which is much more likely, we learn that because all souls come from this place called honor, that when Hashem wants to give you a new soul, what is the function of a soul? It's to connect to Hashem, it's to experience God. So when Hashem wants to give you a new soul, what does that mean? He wants to give you a higher perception of Him. How does He do that? He has to give you a new soul. Where do these new souls come from? They all come from this place called Kavod. So therefore, how can Hashem give you a new soul? He has to do it through honor. Meaning somebody has to come honor you. And through that honor, you actually get a new soul. That's the second possibility. Everybody with me? The second one is much more likely. However, Rav Nachman says because of the first possibility, you need to make sure 100% that every time that somebody honors you, you give it back to Hashem. Someone says to you, hey, you did a great job today, right? We're playing ball. Wow, you killed it, man. Thank God. Baruch Hashem. Hashem help me. Unbelievable. No, I see you're putting the work in. I see every day you're going to the gym and you're working out. You're getting there before everybody else. You're putting extra time in the film room. You're doing all this. I know I'm doing all that, but really it's all Hashem. It's not me at all. From this, you're protected from the first situation. Because you're bringing it back to its source. Never take the credit. Because in truth, it's not it's not like it's not a tool that you're using. It's the truth. Every good thing that you do, what is allowing you to do it? It's the peace of God that's inside of you, and Hashem is assisting you at all times. You can't take a step. You can't breathe unless Hashem wants you to. Okay. That was what we learned. Now we said though, let's say nobody's honoring you. Let's say we're not dealing with this thing called kavod, this thing called honor. Where is a person's honor normally? Where does a person normally hold his honor? So Nachman says, every Jew's kavod is on their shulchan, their table. And therefore, the way that you eat at your table, how you eat, what you eat, the speed at which you eat, all of this is either an elevation of your honor or it is a degradation of your honor. Okay? What happens when your honor isn't held at the table?
It's in the floor.
You shouldn't be eating on the floor.
Learned something today about the shulchan.
The old days, they didn't have a shulchan.
They had small shulchan.
Depends when.
Yeah.
They used to want to be buried at the table, no?
They used to want to be buried.
On the table.
Oh yeah?
The concept of
Like mafia bosses? Saying just people in general, they want to be buried on the table? Just to make sure nobody ever eats again? Okay, interesting. I never heard such a thing. You ever heard this? People want to be buried on the table? Yeah, well, that's, of course. Yeah, I haven't heard this. Interesting. Okay, so maybe it's connected. Whatever. Your kavod is at the table. Therefore, what do you need to do? You need to make sure that you eat slowly. You need to make sure that you eat mindfully. You need to make sure that you don't eat more than you need to. You need to make sure you make the proper bracha before and after. You need to make sure the food you're eating is kosher. What happens if you don't do these things? So then you're taking Hashem's honor that He gave you, which is on your table, and you're not giving it a face anymore. Meaning Hashem is not able to reveal Himself to you anymore. That's why Rav Nachman says elsewhere, it could be that a person has worked on all these different areas of his life, become a complete tzaddik in all of these different places, but he still is not connected to God in truth. Why? Because he still has just not rectified his eating. Because eating is a huge thing. Your table is a very big thing. Very big thing. One of the reasons it's so hard is because it replaced the korban in the Beit HaMikdash. What's the concept of a korban? It's a self-sacrifice. You used to sacrifice an animal there for yourself instead of yourself. What do you do at the table? Your animal soul wants to eat like crazy. What do you have to do in order not to do that? You need to self-sacrifice by not giving into your animal soul. It's like you're mamash doing a shchita every time you come to the table. That's what the table is supposed to be replacing. This is what we did so far. So now this is the next part. And when a Jew blemishes his desire for eating, meaning he gives into his taiva for eating, and he either eats more than he needs to, he eats very fast, he doesn't eat with manners, he doesn't make brachot, he doesn't eat kosher. What happens? Through this niftama kavod, kavod is now blemished, ve'en lo panim, and now cannot reveal itself anymore. And through this mitgabrim azai panim, what happens is that people who are arrogant then gain power in the world. Why? Because kavod has fell from holiness, which is authority. Kavod is authority, it's kingship. And then those who are brazen and arrogant in the generation, they take the malchut. They take the kingship, they take the honor. Why is that? Malchut, which we say is keneged amuna, is also keneged kavod. Thank you for honoring me. Honor. So imagine this is your table. And on it you have your malchut, okay? What happens if you blemish your table? Okay, you eat Ashkenazi food for some reason. You blemished your table. Now what happens to your honor? You don't keep your honor, and Hashem can not longer reveal his honor to you or to people in general. But honor still exists, so who takes it? The Sitra Achra. And who does the Sitra Achra love to have honor? Those who are arrogant, brazen, ignorant. Hitler, Haman, sorry. Don't want to get political. But, and it's interesting, you know why? Because as in the Gemara, what's one of the ways that we're going to know it's the last generation? All the leaders are going to be dog-faced. Now, either that means they're all going to look like Trump. Oh, sorry. Or it just means that everybody's going to be arrogant. Sounds familiar, huh? Putin wants to take over the world. Trump wants to take over the world. King Jong-ho, whatever his name is. Crazy people. Everybody says, like I say. Everything is like I say. How did they get this power? Because the Jews are not eating nicely. It's unbelievable, no?
Put out crazy statements, but you would hire a guy to literally sit in the middle of the table to announce that this is all Hashem. So that during the feast, you wouldn't like, at one point you would start to look at my table, you would constantly remind everybody this is all Hashem.
And you know what's interesting? He's the first human being to reveal the honor of Hashem in the world. And yet he brought everybody into his house, he gave them food. Wow, I'm having a big chiddush right now. He gave them food, kosher food, and he made them bless it. Meaning, Hashem's revealing himself in the world is dependent on people eating food the right way. It's unbelievable. And it's interesting, you'd be like, well, what's the connection? The answer is, how did Hashem go into exile in the first place? How did the world go into exile in the first place? Adam didn't eat properly. Everything goes back to eating. Yes. Like the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Azut Machut Balataga. Brazenness is kingship without a crown. Meaning people who wield authority, but they're arrogant, they're like kings without crowns. Meaning why? Because in order to have kingship, you need to eat properly. And because we're not eating properly, meaning the shulchan is not with kedusha, the table does not have kedusha, bishleimut, it's not whole, you're not doing it with wholeness. Azai mikabeh azut, then those who are bold strengthen themselves. Jehu malchut below taga, kingship without a crown, below keter malchut, and there is no crown to kingship anymore because we only have arrogant leaders. This is not just in the world; it's also within the Jewish people. And it's not even just within the Jewish people this happens, it happens within yourself. Meaning, the klipot inside of you that make you want to fall in your taivas, those taivas become stronger when you do not eat properly. So meaning on a micro and macro level, all of the brazen, whether it's people who are arrogant, or it's the arrogant part of yourself, which is the klipot, they all become strengthened by your lackings in eating. We have two pasukim we're going to deal with now, where he's going to prove this and expound on it. First one is Baklavim azeh nefesh. The dogs are brazen. Nefesh lo yada'u sava. They are never satiated. Meaning, what is it that reflects the essence of a dog versus a human being? Is that dogs never get satiated. They never become full. And not only that, they're known for being brazen. They do what they want, when they want. That is what a dog is. It's only in our generation that dogs became as precious as human beings, which is also an indication of the end of the exile. There was a person who came from Europe, I heard this story. I think it was Rav Weinberger's father. And the first thing he noticed, two things he was shocked of when he came from Europe to America. First, nobody learned on benches anymore. They used to only sit on benches. He said everybody sat on chairs. He never saw such a thing in his life. People were sitting on chairs, learning Torah. Everybody used to always sit on benches. Okay. Second thing, for the first time in his life, he saw dogs wearing clothing. He saw dogs with sweaters and people without them, and he was very confused. Okay? That's America. We clothe our dogs and we go naked in the streets. We're going streaking. Make sure the dog gets his sweater though. It's really cold out. What?
Did you see the dog show?
No. No. I missed that one. I imagine since I stopped watching TV a little bit ago, it would probably be the last thing I'd ever watch if I had a chance to go watch again. No. Just kidding. Okay. And he says, listen to the end of the pasuk in Yeshaya. The dogs are brazen. They're never satiated. These are shepherds who cannot understand. Meaning, it sounds like he's speaking about dogs, literally. And now by the end of the pasuk, you see he's not speaking about dogs. He's speaking about leaders of people. That they're like dogs. Why? Because they're never satiated with the amount of power that they have. And these are shepherds who have no understanding. Okay? Why are the dogs brazen, meaning they're never satiated? Why are these people in leadership? On account of Tavat Achila, gluttony, the desire for food. Like the pasuk in Mishlei says, Beten Rishayim Techsar, the belly of the wicked want. And what about the tzaddik? A tzaddik only eats to satisfy his soul. Tzaddik ochel asvo nafsho. Meaning, what is the whole difference between a tzaddik and a rasha? That the tzaddik is content with whatever he has physically. Whether it's food, whether it's money, whether it's how many kids he has, whether it is his home, whatever is his physical, material standings, he says everything is from Hashem. I'm satisfied because I know it's exactly what Hashem wants me to have. What does it mean to be a Rasha? You always want more. You always want more. And where does this dynamic play out in the most intense way? At the Shulchan. Why is that? Because the Shulchan is the place of kingship. It's the place of authority. Do you assert your authority, or do you give your authority over to the other side? When you give your authority over to the other side of the table, you know who becomes the leaders of the Jewish people? Not people you want to be leaders of the Jewish people. But what happens when everybody is eating like nice Jewish boys? Then we get Moshe Rabbeinu to come lead us. Like it says, these shepherds who cannot understand, they become shepherds and leaders of the generation because Kavod has fallen to them and become entirely theirs. However, Aval, Kishem Shabrun Tavat Achila, when you break your desire for eating, like the tzaddik ochel asvo nafsho, the tzaddik eats only in order to satisfy his soul. Through this, you reveal the face of God in the world. And then the brazen face, they have no command or rule in the world at all. Why? Because people who are arrogant or brazen, who have authority, they can only do so when Hashem hides himself. To the desire for food. This is like it says, he who will lie down, satiated, he will not be visited with evil. This is what Shlomo Melech says. Meaning, what he's saying, because he's lying down and satiated, he's not wanting, then the klipot have no way of harming you. When does harm come in? I want. Listen to how unbelievable this goes. You have Hashem says to Adam, I'm giving you all of existence, all of the physical world, all of the spiritual worlds, all of it is yours, except you see that one little tree over there. Don't eat from it. He's like, is this a joke? This is what you want me to do? I got you. No problem. Okay? He's Bukharian. What happens? Little diamond jeweler Nachash comes out from 47th Street. And he goes, "Ooh, look at the shiny stone over there." Adam's like, "What are you talking about? That's the tree Hashem said not to eat from. That tree, if you eat from that tree, you know what you're missing out on? It's the best party around. You're hanging out with all these losers over here. This is the cool guys." So what did Adam start thinking to himself? What did Kavod start feeling? Yeah, Hashem gave us all this, but what's going on over there? They were not satisfied with what they had. The result was evil came into the world. If not for that one little issue, if they were satiated with what they had and they ate well, Mashiach would have come immediately, it would have been Olam Haba, and all the Jewish souls would have experienced Gan Eden forever. How did the Satan, how did the Nachash get control? By causing Adam to want more than he needs. Everybody understand? I understand, but so...
Now we have the Torah, right? So we're not...
So listen... But listen, back then, the Yetzer Hara was not inside Adam. You know how we eat, right? We know we're full, but our body still wants food? Adam didn't have that. That's your Yetzer Hara. That's your animal soul. He didn't have one. It was outside of him. Right. So what do we need? We need a Torah. We need extra shmirin. We need extra protection. He didn't need it because he didn't have a Yetzer Hara. It's the antidote to the Yetzer Hara. Okay? By the way, this is one of the big reasons why they say every single time you sit down to eat, you should learn a little bit. Because learning is the antidote to taiva, to want. Because truth satiates you. If you ever go to like a really sweet shiur, Sat Hashem, hopefully this is one of those, you're not thinking about eating. Why not? Because you're satiated with something that's greater than food. Truth. So therefore, every single time you sit down, especially when you have meal, bread, learn a little bit. Learn a little bit. He says now, when Malchut and Kavod, they fall down to the Sitra Achra and it goes over to the arrogant, it's then in the aspect of tzedek, okay? So there is a famous line about the female. She's the Ezer Kenegdo, it says in the Torah. Rashi says, what does Ezer Kenegdo mean? Ezer means help, Kenegdo means against. Is your wife helping you or she's against you? Which one is it? So Rashi says, when you do what you need to, she helps you. And when you don't, she's against you. That's Malchut. That's honor. What happens when you don't honor the honor of Hashem? Then it goes over to the authority of the brazen, and those brazen leaders then subjugate you. That's called tzedek. That's called strict justice. The reason why we experience strict dinim, judgments in our life, whether it's through illness or suffering and all of these things, is because Hashem himself is not the one who's administering the justice, so to speak. We, out of our free will, have given it over to the Sitra Achra, and they take more than they're supposed to. They judge us more severely than they're supposed to. So therefore, that's called tzedek. He says you could see this with the letter tzadi. So now we're going to have to look at the letter tzadi to understand what he's going to say now. He says a tzadi, is quoting the Arizal, a tzadi is made out of a yud and a nun. Right? This is a tzadi. Right? Everybody with me? That's a tzadi. The Arizal says that tzadi is really a nun, which is bent over completely. Right? So it's just like this. And a yud facing out this way. A nun and a yud. We know that nun, which equals 50, nun is always the concept of malchut, or honor. And the Yud is always Hashem's face. What happens when you do not eat properly and you fall in your taiva for achila, you fall in your desire for food? Then the nun, which is honor, and the Yud, which is Hashem's face, they look in separate directions. And Hashem is no longer shining His face on you because honor is looking the other way. And then you get tzaddik, which is short for tzedek, which means strict justice. That means that every little thing you do wrong is judged severely, versus with rachamim, with compassion, with empathy, with tempered judgments. And this is really our month. What's the month this month? This is the month of Adar. How did we fall in Purim? We fell at the Shulchan. We went to the king Achashverosh's party. We were eating his food and drinking his drinks. Mordechai begged them not to. They didn't listen to him. They fell in their taiva achila, the desire for food. What happened as a result? A failed artist, a joke of a human being, became the leader of Persia. Haman. Haman was not a person who grew up. He was not a person who grew up being groomed for leadership. He was a journalist when he was younger. A failed artist. He was a nobody. He went to jail. He wrote a crazy book. He came out, and he was anointed leader of Germany. How did that happen? The answer is Tava Achila. The Taiva of Achila. It's a big chiddush, no? All these people, how did these... Yeah.
He accidentally walked into this meeting.
Wow. So how did he accidentally get there? Rav Nachman says, these brazen, crazy leaders, how did they get leadership? It's not natural. How does Hashem let you see the reason why it happens? Because it's so insane that they became leaders. How did they get it? The answer is the Jewish people, we damaged and blemished our table. You know, like people say, we got to protect our home. This is your home. You got to protect your table. What happens? So he says, then the kuf becomes like a kof. Does anybody know what a kof is? A monkey. A monkey imitates a human being. There's different animals that are connected to different months. What is the month of Adar's animal? A kof, a monkey. Why? What does a monkey represent? False leaders. False leaders. Someone who looks like a leader. He talks like a leader. He walks like a leader. And he is really an arrogant, brazen, ignorant human being. How does he get power? When we at the table eat like monkeys. Then monkeys go in power. And if you don't want any monkey business, you gotta get rid of those monkeys. A lot of references to monkeys in those past few sentences. Here. Take care of the monkey. What happens when the monkey's let loose? He acts like a human being. And then the pasuk says, Ragleha yordot mavet. In Mishlei it says her feet descend to death. What is Shlomo Melech talking about? Her feet descend to death. So we know that Kabbalistically, from all the 10 Sfirot, which is the only Sfirah which is vulnerable to the Sitra Achra? Does anybody know? Out of the 10 Sfirot, which is the only Sfirah which is vulnerable to the Sitra Achra? Malchut. Why? Because she's the feet. What's the problem with feet? They're right above ground. Ground or underground, that is the place of the Sitra Achra. By the way, according to the Shulchan Aruch, you're not really supposed to walk around barefoot. Interesting, no? Why is that? Because the feet are very vulnerable. The feet are very vulnerable. The feet is malchut, it's honor. Meaning, where does the Sitra Achra get its sustenance from? It gets it from fallen honor. Somebody compliments you, you take it for yourself. You're giving strength to the other side. You go to eat food, which is your honor, it's your table, and you don't eat with kavod. Again, you give it over to false leaders. And what happens? Then your feet, meaning your honor, they descend to death. Death is the other side. Arrogant, brazen. Very nice. And food comes from the ground as well. Very good, Benny. He woke up from the dead. Our feet are descending to the death, and Benjamin's coming up from the dead. Tchiyat Meitim style. Exactly what I'm saying. Yes. The malchut of Kedusha, meaning the one that we want, the one we want to cultivate, we want real leaders, we want a true king, we want David and Melech, then he has to depend on them for his survival. Meaning what? When is it that Jewish people need non-Jews in order to carry out our traditions, our religion, our mitzvot? That we need the American government, that we need whatever host society we're in to tell us, you can have yeshivas. You want to have this part of your curriculum? Sign it off by us. You want to do these mitzvot? We need to approve it. When does that take place? All when we blemish our honor of our table. Then the authority goes to them, and now we have to answer to them. So what do we need to do? How do we fix this? How do we fix the problem? Avram, you want the tikkun or no? Tzarich la'alot et kavod. Somebody help him, quick. His honor is on the floor. You found ginger ale?
Gave me something there, I don't know.
Looks like you just hijacked somebody's stuff.
It means that I'm not deserved.
The Torah comes alive. He drops the food on the floor.
Wow. Epic.
So what's the tikkun?
Oh, the tikkun, there you go. What's the tikkun? How do we fix this? So listen to what he says. We need to bring honor back up from the Sitra Achra. We need to bring it back up from the false leaders. How do we do that? Through tzedakah. Why? Because the whole problem is strict justice. What's the word for strict justice? Tzedek. What do we need to do? We need to add a hey. So tzedek becomes tzedakah. What's the difference between tzedek and tzedakah? Tzedek is strict justice. It's according to what you deserve. Tzedakah is not according to what you deserve. It's according to your benevolence. So we want to take the strict justice and we want to turn it into compassion. Tzedakah. By giving tzedakah, we actually rectify the honor and we bring it back up. Like the pasuk says, tzedakah tatzil mamavet. We just said, what's the whole issue? The whole issue is that honor falls into death, right? It says her feet fall down to death. We said, what is feet? It's honor. So now what does the pasuk say? Tzedakah ma tatzil mamavet. Tzedakah saves from death. So he's giving you the tikkun. We are going to elevate and rescue Malchut, kingship, glory from the aspect of her feet in the death by turning tzedek into tzedakah. Why is this? So now everybody's going to have to follow me. It's a little Kabbalistic. You ready? Okay. Abraham, you have to pay attention now. You ready? You can do it. We're almost done. Ready? Everybody with? Okay. There are 10 sfirot. You ready? These 10 sfirot, we're going to start with Chokhmah. This is the highest sphera that we can experience. It's called wisdom. This is the greatest revelation of God. It's called Chokhmah. Then the next one is called Bina. It's called understanding. The next one is called da'at. Da'at means knowledge. Da'at is a harmony of Chokhmah and Bina. Then you have Hesed, which means loving kindness, giving. Then you have Gevura. This is strength or self-discipline. Then you have Tiferet, which is beauty, truth. Then you have Netzach, which is eternity or holy chutzpah. Then you have Hod, which is gratitude or splendor. Then you have Yesod, which is the Brit, the foundation. And then lastly, you have Malchut, which is kingship or Amunah or honor. Okay? Honor. So everybody try to follow me. We said in the very first lesson of Likutei Mohoran, what makes Malchut different from all the other Sfirot? What is a Sfira? It's a light. It's a revelation of godliness. And each one of them has their own unique light. What about Malchut? Why is Malchut different? It has no light of its own. Malchut is merely the reflection of all the light that goes into it. So its whole strength is that it has nothing of its own. It's humble. What's the issue with Malchut? Because it gets no light of its own, it's vulnerable to be captured. Because when you don't have light, when you don't have da'at, you're vulnerable for damage. You with me? Okay. How do we rectify Malchut? So, try to follow me. The key to the rectification of Malchut, meaning honor or Emunah, is that Malchut, which is the daughter, it needs to be raised by her mother. Her mother is called Bina. Mother, daughter. I think John Mayer had a song like this one day. Mother, daughter, something like that. Okay. There was a deep Kabbalistic insight in that. What is that? Malchut Amuna is raised by Bina. Kabbalistically. What does that mean for us? It is the faculty of understanding that elevates honor. It is with real understanding that honor is elevated in the world. And without understanding and ignorance, then honor falls to the other side. Okay? Now, what does Bina give to her daughter? What does the mother give to the daughter that helps her become raised? So he gives her two things. He gives her 5 candies from Chokhmah and 5 candies from herself. All in all, Malchut gets 10 candies. And through this, she's built. 5 candies come from Chokhmah. 5 candies come from Bina. The 5 that come from Chokhmah are called Chasadim. They are called positive spiritual energies. Expansive energies. Ones of kindness and love. And they get 5 Gevurot from the mother. So 5 candies of love from the father and 5 candies of discipline from the mother. Everybody with me? All in all, she gets these from each, and with that, she is built and she becomes whole. Everybody following the mashal right now? Ish. No, not at all. A little bit. No. Anybody else? You can see nobody. No. So. I was debating whether or not to even teach this part because it's very Kabbalistic. So I'm considering now skipping over it. In essence, all you need to know is like this. There's 2 types of justice. There is mitigated justice and there is strict justice. Mitigated justice is, let's say for instance, you steal my Schweppes. Let's say this is my Schweppes. I take it. I pour it. I actually do want this, okay? But let's say I didn't and I'm just pouring it for myself. And let's say Robert steals it from me. What a let's say I take him to Beit Din. I take him to court. Yes. I'm very petty. I take him to court because he steals my ginger ale, and I'm very thirsty. What happens in court? Let's say he gets Judge Judy. You're done. Strict justice. She's Bina. But let's say you get Judge Maven, or whatever that, like, friendly teddy bearish judges, okay? He comes up and he goes, everything's okay. You're okay. Don't worry about anything, okay? So that is called tempered judgment. Why? He's looking at the good in you. What is strict judgment called? It's called tzedek. What is tempered judgment called? It's called tzedakah. Are you with me so far? Okay. To fix honor being given out to false leaders, we don't have any tzedakah in the world. We have tzedek. We have strict justice. That's why it went to those places. How do we fix it? By giving tzedakah. Because tzedakah, through tzedakah, we're bringing in positive godly energy. And that positive godly energy brings the malchut, the kingship, back up to where it rightfully belongs, to real leaders of Jewish people and to Hashem. So tzedakah is the tikkun. In essence, that's what we're saying.
You take 17, not 31, divided by 31 grams.
Everybody understand that?
155.
Yo. Then he says, when we take malchut back up from those brazen-faced leaders, those people who have no understanding, where does it go? It goes to people who truly understand how to counsel. They say about Mashiach, he's going to be a Pele Yoetz, a wondrous advisor. Meaning it's a messianic thing to be able to give good advice. Where do we learn this from? From the opposite. What was the first piece of advice given? The Nachash. You should eat from that tree, you'll be like God. Meaning, and what happened as a result? 6,000 years of suffering. All from one piece of bad advice. What rectifies that? Good advice. Good advice, everything depends on good advice. But we're learning something deep. You can't get good advice from real leaders until you take kavod and you rectify it. You honor the concept, you fix the concept of honor in your life and in the world. How do you fix it? Tzedakah. By giving tzedakah, somehow leadership is now going to be taken from those people who are arrogant and without true knowledge, and it's going to be given to those who really have it. Tzedakah is the fix. Now it's interesting, because we just said that Purim is this whole story, right? Leadership went to false leaders because we blemished the table. Now what did we do? What do we have to do on Purim? We have to give tzedakah. Why do we have to give tzedakah? It's part of fixing so that leadership leaves Haman and goes to Mordechai. Tzedakah is the key to that. But he brings a very important point. Listen to this important point that he brings. When kavod, honor, returns from arrogant leaders, and it goes back to people who really deserve it, meaning they can lead and they have wisdom and they're going to help people. He says as soon as a person comes to take leadership and he's deserving, initially, it's always going to start with machloket. You hear what he's saying? It's an unbelievable thing. Okay. He's saying we blemished our table. As a result now, the leaders of the Jewish people are arrogant. They don't really deserve leadership, but because we corrupted honor in the world by corrupting the honor of our table, the honor now goes to people who don't deserve it. So how do we fix that? We fix it by giving tzedakah. Now we give tzedakah, what happens? Then that leadership, that authority that was given over to them is taken from them and given to real leaders. People who can really lead the Jewish people. All of a sudden a random person comes up in Queens and says, hey, I can lead. I'm the guy. And all of a sudden he gets leadership. But what does he get immediately? As soon as he comes to lead, machloket. Machloket. Why? Because the enemies sustain themselves mainly from those people who are deserving leaders, namely the mind. Machloket means arguments. Arguments. Meaning, you would think it's going to be we give tzedakah. All of a sudden, a real leader comes into power, and we're good. That's not what happens. As soon as a real leader becomes in power, how do you know? There's machloket. There's disagreement about him. People say, don't go learn by that guy. He's not the guy. Machloket. Why? Because that guy represents the mind of the Jewish people. And where does the Sitra Achra, the other side, get its shefa from, get its sustenance from? Where does it live off of? The shefa of the mind. Therefore, it is on top of that real leader. So as soon as he comes into power, that enemy doesn't want him to, because that means the end of him. So what does he do? He creates machloket within the community. Are we with? Because all enemies and foes are revealed from the mind in the head. This is why the mind has hair on top. Because mind represents dinim, strict judgment. Because it's constriction. All of the hair follicles are little constricted pieces of hairs that are coming from the mind. They represent the enemies of the Jewish people. Hair. But you notice, where's the hair coming out of? It's not coming out of, let's say, you don't have a head of hair on your, well, you might have it on your chest, but let's say in general, you're not Austin Powers, okay? So you don't have a head of hair on your chest. You have chest hair because you're Jewish. But now you have like a full set of hair. Where do you have it? Only on your head. Why is it only on your head? Because all of the kedusha is in your mind. So where does the Sitra Achra want to hang out? By your head. Because they draw sustenance until all the mind's extraneous elements are entirely consumed. They leech off of the mind, and ultimately they fall away, which is why your hair falls off. Because, so to speak, these pieces of hair, which represent dinim, which represent klipot, once they've gotten their fill, they can't hold any more kedusha. So what happens? They fall off. Let's see your hair. Oh, you're doing good. The klipot are starting to fall. It's good. No dinim on your head. He says this is what causes baldness when people get older and the elderly. Why? Because it says in the Ijra Rabbah and the Zohar, the mind of the elder is quiet and settled. He doesn't have all that confusion like when he's young. Why is that? Because the klipot are not on his head anymore. They fell off. Quite a chiddush, he's saying right now. Next time I come in, Ariel's going to look like Bruce Willis. Bald. This kid I'm worried about, because I feel like he's the kind of guy that comes to one class, he just does it. He's not going to stop eating, he's going to be bald tomorrow, his mom's going to come after me. What type of cult did you join? Thus, with no godliness to sustain it anymore, the hair falls out. So he says the same things happens when a real leader comes to power. All of the enemies of the Jewish people, meaning the brazen, arrogant leaders, they become threatened by this real leader. They all come against him, but Hashem makes it that through their efforts to kill him, to get rid of this guy, this real leader, they actually get extinguished. Why? Because they end up sucking all the kedusha out of that situation, and then like hair, they fall out. And as a result of the machloket, the schism that divided them, they are unable to draw large amounts of sustenance. However, he says, when enemies unite, meaning when all of these people combine for machloket, it's not just one random Rav who says that guy's no good, but the whole community says he's not good. Now what happens? Then they don't suck out a little bit of the kedusha. They try to do it all at once. And then what happens is all the enemies get extinguished immediately. So in a way it's bad because it's very intense, but in a way it's good because they all get eliminated at one time. We'll continue Monday night. Amen. Zakvu. And Yishmei Rabbi. Amen.